So now you're ready to give up. Your back is against the wall. You feel like that you've put everything into that relationship and it's failing. You feel like you've put everything into that business. You put all your eggs in that basket. And it seems like, you take 2 steps up and you get knocked 3 steps back. Trust me, I've been there. And I've been there more times than I can really count, because life is about ups and downs. We're so fixated on it being perfect. We're so fixated on the outcome that we forget that life will take us up and life will take us down. And it's about our mindset and the thoughts that we allow to creep into our mind. And we believe those thoughts. Those are self-sabotaging thoughts. And it keeps us in a place of despair and not wanting to move ahead. It wasn't until I changed my thought process and my mindset that the world around me began to change. Hey little stars, Mystique Moon here. Welcome to She Sound Off, where we hear your spirit, practice self-transformation, and learn to live in our highest consciousness and our highest version. So I've known despair. I've known that place of, wanting to give up all too well. It was my best friend. Those negative thoughts took real estate in my mind. I remember I would say a few years ago, when my life completely changed. This was a point where my life changed. I was in a relationship with somebody, and the relationship made me unhappy. The thought of it made me unhappy. I was with someone who I don't believe was with me for my well-being. I got to a point where I just gave up. I gave up. I was particularly like this particular time, or this particular moment, it was 3 days. For 3 days I was just binge drinking. I wasn't taking care of my children properly. I was just in a place of just darkness, and for 3 days I sat in that space. I sat in that space crying. I sat in that space just giving up on myself, feeling like I didn't deserve happiness, feeling like I didn't deserve anything great, because that was the way my life was set up. That's what it told me. And that's what my environment told me, that I don't deserve shit, that I can try so hard and I can put my all into something, and every time I do it just fucking fail every time. And so that's the space that I was in. For 3 days I cried. For 3 days I just deteriorated mentally, because I felt like this is the end. Like I felt like it was the end, and in my mind it was the end. Until I, came across someone who told me to take my power back. And those words meant the world to me at that time, because I was powerless. I felt like nobody could understand me in this space. My life on the outside looked one way. On the outside, I had the house, the car, the job, the relationship, the family. On the outside, it looked amazing. But on the inside, I was dying. And it was like I was in prison. I didn't know how to get out of that jail until I decided to take my power back. So when I decided to take my power back, I found strength in a place that I didn't even know existed. See, a lot of times when we're in that place of wanting to give up, of complete failure, mentally, physically, emotionally, we can't find strength. That's the reason we ended up in that space, because we can't find the strength to persevere. We can't find the strength to keep going, the faith in our source that we deserve happiness, we deserve peace, we deserve great things, abundance, money, a relationship, a healthy relationship, a healthy family dynamic, a job, a secure foundation. We feel like we don't deserve that because we haven't found the strength to find it within ourselves. And so when I found that strength, it was buried deep, honey. Like that strength was buried really, really deep. It was buried so deep that I didn't even know it existed inside of me. So the first thing I did was I made it okay to feel the emotions that I was feeling. We're taught to repress and suppress and avoid the emotions because it makes you look weak, or it makes you feel like you're going deeper and deeper into that state of depression or loneliness or darkness. But that's not what emotions do. We are here to experience the emotions. So if you continue to repress them, if you continue to overlook them, if you continue to act like they don't exist, then they will literally breed inside of you. So I decided to let my emotions be real. I allowed them to flow. And what that did for me was I found balance in my emotions. Now, I didn't stay there, because a lot of times we stay in those repressive or depressive moments and emotions, and that's when it begins to become a part of our life. That's when we act out in that sadness, in that depression, in that space of wanting to give up. But instead of acting in them, I allowed them to flow. I allowed them to exist. I cried when I needed to cry. I spent some time by myself praying and meditating, and I decided to, you know, stop pulling the leash on my emotions, playing tug of war with my emotions, and I decided to let them exist, let them be real, because again, emotions are real. So once I did that, I felt free. It's a freeing feeling to allow your emotions to just exist and to release them. I decided to not to grow, but to flow my emotions. The second thing I did was I forgave myself. You know, I had been through so much in my life, and it was so easy for me to continue to beat myself up and blame myself and beat myself down consistently about things, decisions, consequences of my past. So I had to forgive myself for that shit. Like, you have to forgive yourself for the things that have happened in your past. It no longer exists. And if you haven't found the lesson in them, then you're not learning from your past. The whole point in our past is to use it as a tool to learn from. So once I learned the lessons, I decided to forgive myself. And I want to let you know that you are not a failure. You did not give up on that dream, on those goals. You are simply plainly living life. And you had these set of expectations, and when they didn't turn out how you wanted them to, the world told you that you were a failure. And you decided to believe that within yourself, but none of that is true. Forgive yourself for it. Forgive yourself for the mistakes that you've made. Forgive yourself for the consequences that came out of those mistakes. You have to forgive yourself. And then I decided to write a new story. I decided to start anew. And a lot of times this is called starting over. I don't like to say start over, because starting over make you feel like you're ending something, or you have to redo something. I started a new chapter. I opened a blank page and started writing and telling a new story about my life. And once you start to tell a new story, that old story dies away. That old part of you, your old thought process, that old version of you, it starts to die away. And I began to tell myself and fill myself up with positive affirmations. I began to tell myself that I deserve happiness, and I started to attract happiness. And it started with those small things. When I woke up in the morning, instead of me feeling sad, I decided on that day that I'm going to be happy or even content with where I am in my life right now. I'm going to, again, stop allowing those dark thoughts to take real estate, because I've let them flow. I've released them already. Y'all have to release those thoughts and those emotions. And once that happened, you begin to write a new story. Also, the world has told you that you are your past. You are not your past. You are not your trauma. The world has told you that. The world has also told you that you are a failure because of where you are not in life. Writing your own story, being the author of your own story, means that I get to dictate my circumstance and my outcome. And I didn't realize that. And they say, you've made your bed, now lie in it. That's the whole point. You are supposed to lie in the bed that you make. And every time you go to bed in that every time you go to sleep in that bed, it messes up, and you have to wake up every morning and remake the bed. That's the process of life. But the world will tell you that you're a failure because you stumble along the way. You stumbled along your journey. I thought that every mistake that I made made me a failure because the world said that I was, because of what someone else's story looked like or someone else's journey looked like. Mine didn't look like that. Failure is the lack of success or the lack of something, and you're not lacking anything. Your past is literally a learning experience. Look at it as a manual, a learning manual to your life. So I used to choose the most horrible men in the most horrible relationships. And I used to tell myself that my biggest issue and my biggest problem is the men that I choose. And I told myself the story over and over and over again. It became my truth. And I did. Every time I got into a relationship, it was not good for me. Every single time, because I kept telling myself that story. Now I'm in a place of self-love. So rather than tell myself I keep choosing this person, I'm deciding to choose me, and I'm deciding to fill me up. And anybody that walk into my life is going to be a representation of the self-love that I give to myself. And now I don't choose toxic relationships. I don't choose toxic people because I began to tell myself a totally different story. You have the ability to rewrite rewrite everything that has happened to you, and do it multiple times if you have to. Do it 3, 4, 5 times, as many times as you have to, until you find peace in your life. That's literally what it's all about, finding that peace. I found peace. One morning, I woke up and I was so content with my life. I was in a place of bliss and balance. And I didn't understand what that felt like because I've never experienced that in my entire life. My life has always been chaotic. So when I found that place of solitude and peace, there was nothing bad happening in my life. There was nothing like extraordinary happening in that moment. But I was okay. I was comfortable. My foundation was solid. I was in a happy space. The relationships around me was happy and flowing. Money was flowing. My life was flowing. My children was happy. My household was secure and safe. I never knew what that felt like. And then lastly, I learned to focus on my journey and my journey alone. I stopped comparing myself to other people and what success looked like to them, meaning that that is what success looked like for me, or what peace looks like for somebody else is what peace should look like for me. I stopped comparing. I think we drown ourselves by looking over in somebody else's window and trying to compare what our household looks like. We're all unique and different for a reason. Stop comparing yourself to other people because you will lose every single time. I began to learn what makes Mystique Moon happy. What makes me smile at night? What makes me satisfied? What makes me feel proud of myself? What activities, what creativity that I can do that where I find peace, where I find success? What does that look like for me? So you have to redefine what success look like for you, and not what the world tells you and not what the other person life tells you that it should be. You have to find out who you are. My life is totally different than it was 3 years ago. I never would have imagined that I could be sitting up here making this video, even though it took everything in my power to get out of that bed today and make it. I felt like I needed to do this because I know how rough it is to be in a space where you are ready to give up. Because again, I've been there time and time and time again. And I wish that at the beginning I had someone to tell me it's okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel angry. Allow yourself to process those emotions, process those feelings. Don't sit in those feelings, but process them and release them. I wish I had that. I wish I had someone to tell me to forgive myself when I was feeling like a failure, when I was feeling like I didn't deserve anything, to forgive myself, that I am not my trauma, that I did not fail at life. I wish I had someone to tell me at the time to start a new beginning, because that's what it's all about. Focus on your journey and your journey alone. Follow these steps. And each time you do this, you take a piece of your power back. You take a piece of yourself back. A piece of your new self, not that old version of you. You take a piece of this new you that you are forming. Your thought process begins to change. Every single day you feel like more confident in getting up and doing things. So lastly, I want to read some affirmations that I want you to affirm in your life every single day. You don't have to believe that these affirmations are true. That's not the point. The point is for you to feed into yourself. You know, when you're sick and the doctor gives you medicine to feel better, when you take that medicine, usually on the first day, you're not feeling better, right? Usually on the first day, the doctor say, oh, you got to take this for 10 days. Take the full doses for 10 days. This is what affirmations is about. When you are feeling like you're ready to give up, you're not going to read an affirmation and in the morning you're going to feel better. Some might. Maybe you might feel a little better. But that's not the point. The point is to continue to feed into yourself, taking this medicine, affirming these things to yourself every single day. And after a while, you'll start believing it. Your subconscious will start believing it. And when your subconscious believes in it, you believe in it. So affirm to yourself every single morning, I am safe and secure in my foundation. I am safe and secure in my foundation. I am strong and capable of overcoming every circumstance in my life. I am strong and capable of overcoming every circumstance in my life. I am confident in who I am in this exact moment. I am confident in who I am in this exact moment. I believe in myself and ability to survive. I believe in myself and my ability to survive. I deserve peace and abundance to flow consistently through my life. I deserve peace and abundance to flow consistently through my life. And the last affirmation I want you to say is, I will not give up no matter what. I will not give up no matter what. Say those affirmations. Say them several times throughout the day. When those thoughts start to creep up in your mind, pick one of those affirmations that resonated with you on such a high level and say it over and over and over and over. Again, your circumstances won't change overnight, but your mindset starts to shift your circumstance. The more you pour into your mindset, the more your circumstance change. You start to make different decisions. You start to attract the people that's going to help you out of that situation, and you start to change your circumstances. After a while, you don't feel like giving up anymore. Follow the steps, apply the steps, and change your life. All right, y'all. So that's it. That's all. I know that this is going to help somebody because it helped me. So I'm 100% sure on that. If something resonated with you, please leave a comment. And I always forget to say to subscribe to She Sound Off. My channel is growing and I'm happy about it. But it wasn't until I believed in myself. It wasn't until I stopped looking at other people's lives, other people's success, other people's channels, that mine began to grow in the most organic and humblest way. And I am so grateful for that. Okay, y'all, remember that self-preservation is the first law of nature. Love yourself before you love anything, anybody else in this world. Lead with your heart chakra and everything else will follow. Until next time, y'all. Peace.